Who could have imagined that Zombie actually had a third form? With just a lift of his hand, the limbs of the Zombie King were instantly severed. It turns out that just now, the Zombie King said that his strength was comparable to zombies, and wanted to cooperate with Zombie to destroy the world, and then split it equally. Upon hearing this, the Grand President's face was shocked, fearing that Zombie would agree to the Zombie King's terms. At this moment, Zombie spoke, "Only weaklings like you would blabber every day about destroying the world." At this point, Dawn and others in the distance were confused and had no idea what Zombie was talking about. Although the Zombie King was scolded and hated it to the teeth, he dared not rashly make a move. At this time, Zombie's eyes suddenly turned red. "It seems that if I don't give you a good lesson, you won't understand." In the next second, Zombie's grayish-brown skin began to fade, revealing the human skin underneath. Then he gathered his strength, and his high-quality clothes instantly shattered, revealing the solid abs underneath. Then he let out a roar to the sky, which confused Violet and the others. In the next second, Zombie transformed into his third form, and he was a handsome guy. Seeing this scene, Dawn and others were full of curses. "What the hell is this?" Zombie stood on the broken roof, and with just one glance at the Zombie King, the strong oppressive feeling was like a demon, instantly enveloping him. The Zombie King was shocked to see this. What? How is this possible? At the same time, on Blackie's side, the Grand President fell silent after seeing Zombie's third form. Suddenly, Go slapped him in the face. "Wake up, idiot." With that, he lifted the Grand President towards the front. "Look carefully, this is our king. Our god." At this point, Zombie had completely shed the zombie's appearance and was almost the same as a normal human. Looking at Zombie, who was becoming more and more human, everyone opened their mouths in disbelief, and the Zombie King couldn't help feeling a surge of jealousy in his heart. Zombie took a step forward, and it immediately started to drizzle. At the same time, the Zombie King finally couldn't stand it anymore and roared. "Damn, what are you? Are you human or zombie?" Then he took the lead and attacked Zombie with all his might. However, just as his fist was about to touch Zombie, Zombie looked up at him, and the rain miraculously stopped in the air, as if time had stopped. Zombie merely raised his hand, and the rain began to flow backwards in an instant. The Zombie King was instantly cut off by the rain and his limbs flew out. At the same time, Violet and others also floated weightlessly into the sky, and the fish in the water experienced the feeling of flying for the first time. A few seconds later, Dawn and others fell back to the ground. The Zombie King also lay painfully on the sea surface, looking at Zombie in disbelief. At this point, Zombie looked at him expressionlessly. "You ask who I am? I am your father." Watching the huge whale crash straight into the skyscraper, Dawn was terrified and trembling. Violet was so shocked, she was practically stupefied. Is this a power that a zombie could possess? Turns out, Zombie's simple hand gesture had instantly created a massive storm vortex in the sky. Meanwhile, Professor Jamie and Bespectacled Man, who also witnessed this event, were dumbfounded. This had far exceeded their understanding. Bespectacled Man frantically asked, "Brother Faye, have you ever seen such a terrifying zombie?" The usually calm Professor Jamie was no longer composed, stuttering, "No, never." However, even when dismembered, the Zombie King refused to admit defeat. He rose up with a flip, shouting, "Regenerate." The next second, his severed limbs grew back. After his recovery, he arrogantly said to Zombie, "This is useless. I can't defeat you, but you can't defeat me either. As a Zombie King, I have an immortal body. Even if you cut me into countless pieces, I can still regenerate." Hearing this, Zombie snorted disdainfully. With a swing of his hand, the Zombie King was uncontrollably pulled towards him. Zombie grabbed him by the neck, looking at the Zombie King in his grip like a toy, his dead fish eyes full of contempt. "Do you misunderstand the concept of death? Do you think physical damage is the only way to destroy someone?" The Zombie King was taken aback. Just as he was about to retort, Zombie's eyes turned serious. As the Zombie King looked into those pupils, Zombie's memories quickly flooded his mind. In the sky above Earth, several massive aircraft carriers appeared. An alien in a red armor stood on the main ship. At his command, countless armored soldiers rushed towards Earth. This was their sixth attempt to destroy Earth's civilization, but even after more than 1,300 attacks, they still failed. They had met a formidable opponent. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the empty sea. He roared, and all the warships in space were destroyed almost simultaneously. At some point, Zombie had already arrived in outer space. After thousands of battles, he had unlocked his dark form. As the Zombie King screamed in pain, the scene returned to the present. In the Zombie King's mind, a pair of crimson eyes stared at him intently. Soon, the Zombie King stopped struggling, his limbs drooping weakly. At this point, he had been frightened unconscious by Zombie. The showdown between the two Zombie Kings finally drew to a close. In his fourth form, Zombie's eyes, which disdained everything, were deeply imprinted in the Zombie King's mind, causing his consciousness to dissipate and turning him into a soulless shell. In other words, he was scared to death by Zombie. Dawn and the others, who witnessed this scene, were utterly dumbfounded. What on earth just happened? Could it be over just like that? At this point, Zombie, having lost interest in the pathetic Zombie King, casually tossed him off the skyscraper. Watching the Zombie King fall and lie motionless on the ground, the Grand President expressed his confusion. Why is he suddenly quiet? Is he brewing some big move? At this time, Blackie on the side explained, "Don't worry, he probably had his consciousness dissipated from fear of the dark form of the king. Even gods would shudder a bit under that form." Upon hearing this, the Grand President was shocked. "What did you say?" "He was actually scared to death." "That's too outrageous." Meanwhile, Professor Jamie was also dumbfounded, standing still on the spot. The bespectacled man who came to his senses grabbed the professor, ready to make a run for it. "Now that the defenses of coastal and air are gone, if we don't take the chance to leave now, we won't be able to." Just then, Zombie suddenly appeared behind them. Seeing this, the bespectacled man was instantly scared into alertness, hastily pulling the professor away from Zombie's location. "Oh my God, we've never shown our faces, how could you know we exist?" In response to his words, Zombie didn't answer, but stared at the professor with his dead fish eyes. Seeing this, the bespectacled man was frightened and sat down on the ground. "What on earth do you want?" At this moment, Zombie slowly said, "I'm giving you two choices now. Are you going to surrender, or do you want to go down and have a couple of drinks with the Zombie King you created? You only have 1 second to decide." After witnessing Zombie's terrifying power, who would dare to be clever again? The bespectacled man immediately knelt down with his underlings and surrendered. Though Professor Jamie was unwilling, he could only accept his fate. After all, even a god wouldn't stand a chance against Zombie's absolute power. So, Professor Jamie, who was originally planned to be executed on the spot, was captured alive by Zombie. After arresting the professor, Zombie sat on the ground in frustration. Dawn and Violet were puzzled. Zombie murmured to himself, "Transforming like that is really scary, I'm just a kind-hearted zombie." At this point, Violet ordered Dawn to check on Zombie, but Dawn flatly refused out of fear. You saw how terrifying he was after he transformed. Equally frightened, Violet pushed Dawn forward. "As long as you complete the task, you can be Zombie's vice president when we get back." Upon hearing this, Dawn plucked up her courage and approached Zombie. "Mr. Zombie, are you okay? We should head back." Just then, Zombie suddenly stood up, startling Dawn. "What are you doing?" Zombie replied innocently, "Didn't you say we're going back? I'm kind of hungry. Also, I want clothes that won't tear." Relieved that Zombie showed no aggression, Dawn asked, "Do you remember what you did just now?" Zombie said he remembered, but it was a bit blurry. He then sighed, "I don't have a sense of time, so I've probably dealt with many strange guys like this before, but they were all so weak that I don't remember." Meanwhile, in the convoy escorting Professor Jamie, the arrested professor was laughing in the car. The bespectacled man asked what had happened, and the professor, excited, said, "I never imagined there would be a species as powerful as Zombie in the world. I must get his cells and create an even stronger species. Mr. Zombie, I'll take your genes." With this, the terrorist incident involving Jamie comes to an end. Zombie's actions have been unanimously approved by the upper echelons. He was officially appointed as the president of the Beyonders Academy, on the same level as Violet and the others, and also holds the management rights of a city. However, the city he manages must reach a population of 10 million within a specified number of years, otherwise he will be stripped of his presidency. When the higher-ups asked him which city he wanted to develop, Zombie scratched his head shyly and chose H City, where he had previously captured Professor Jamie. The higher-ups were speechless upon hearing this. H City was a deserted city with no inhabitants. Even if you want to raise chickens, you need eggs. How could he plan to develop a place without a single inhabitant? Despite persuasion, Zombie insisted on H City, and the higher-ups finally stamped his appointment letter for H City. At this moment, a blonde girl was furiously irritated. Where did the Beyonders Academy get this dumbass? He gave up a good city and insisted on an empty one. How will he develop it? Violet, who was in front of the computer, also felt speechless about Zombie. A few days later, the city hall managed by Zombie was officially completed, and his management army expanded from 1 to 4. From then on, Zombie turned the impossible into possible, creating a historic moment. That day, zombies of all ages, carrying large and small packages, flooded into H City, and the human army escorted them. A zombie mother held up her daughter with a smile that had not been seen for a long time. Thanks to the king for giving us such a grand new home. Zombie and his followers stood on the rooftop, watching this scene with a lot of emotion. After many years of effort, his dream was finally about to be realized. At this moment, Blackie stepped forward and reported, "King, as per your request, all the citizens have been moved here." Zombie responded with a good, then shouted attention. In an instant, all the soldiers stood in attention, scaring a little zombie next to them. "Mom, they won't hit us with smoking metal sticks, will they?" Hearing this, a soldier loudly reassured, "President Zombie's order is God's order, and his citizens are our citizens. We will safely escort you to your new home." Hearing this, the little zombie looked at the soldier with a strange expression. Seeing this scene, all the followers were genuinely happy, and Fur couldn't help shouting, "Great, we finally have a city of our own." Zombie paused, feeling a bit emotional. Sometimes, the continuation of a race doesn't necessarily rely on war. At this moment, Blackie suddenly thought of something. "By the way, King, what do you plan to do with Varmint? He has been hanging there for several months." Hearing this, Zombie waved his hand, "Let him hang, it's fine." It turned out that Varmint, a missing person, had been hanging on the roof of the administrative building for several months. During this time, he was tearful all day long, regretting his past actions. "King, please spare me. I don't want to turn into zombie jerky. I'll be obedient next time." Just as Zombie was helping the citizens move in, Violet on the other side was sent flying with a single punch. With a boom, the wall behind her instantly turned into dust. When she struggled to get up and look at what was in front of her, her face was full of disbelief. How is this possible? At this moment, Dawn looked at her playfully. She had actually activated her zombie form on her own. Seeing Dawn in front of her, who seemed like a completely different person from before, Violet was utterly astonished. At that moment, Dawn taunted, "Violet, our senior, the battle has just begun." Upon hearing this, Violet snorted coldly, no longer hiding her true strength, and disappeared instantly. When she reappeared, she was already behind Dawn. But just as she prepared to attack, Dawn's head suddenly spun 360 degrees, laughing heartily at Violet. Violet, startled by this scene, involuntarily let out a curse, hastily dropping her knife and jumping backward. Holy crap, can a human even do that? But just then, she suddenly widened her eyes. Dawn had raised a Gatling gun, spun around, and the ground beneath her shattered. She then started firing relentlessly at Violet, who did several backflips to increase the distance between them. Seeing this, Dawn laughed loudly, "Senior Violet, can I be the president now?" Violet, who was dodging bullets, had no time to respond. Seeing this, Dawn started pulling the trigger even more crazily, shell casings falling to the ground like rain. After a while, Violet managed to retrieve her dropped knife with several swift moves. She snorted coldly, "If you want to be president, show me all your strength now." With that, she launched herself at Dawn like a cannonball. Hearing this, Dawn roared, her body cells transforming instantly. Just then, Violet used a horizontal slash, jumped over Dawn, and tried to cut her Gatling gun into scrap metal. Seeing Violet holding back, Dawn teased, "Senior, you're not even trying to cut me, how am I supposed to use my full power? Hearing this, Violet instantly got serious and closed in on Dawn. She swung her blade, instantly splitting Dawn's body in half. Violet thought she had accidentally killed Dawn and was nervous. She could have dodged, why didn't she? But the next moment, Dawn started laughing loudly, her sliced body healing instantly. Seeing this, Violet was shocked, what the hell is this? After a while, Dawn's body was back to normal. Violet quickly jumped back to create some distance again. This is too much, what the hell did Zombie do? At this point, Dawn asked Violet again, Senior Violet, how about now? Can I be the president now? As soon as her words fell, she was already in front of Violet. Violet was punched into the wall again, and Dawn was again in front of her. At this point, Violet, who had no way out, chose to surrender. As white mist rose from Dawn's body, she transformed back into her normal human form. At this point, she looked worriedly at Violet, apologizing repeatedly. Violet asked sternly, after being bitten by Zombie, did you turn into a zombie? Dawn stated that she had a full body checkup yesterday, and all her cells were normal, and even her genetic chain had not changed. Hearing this, Violet was puzzled, then what's with your 360-degree head turn and recovering from being chopped in half? Hearing this, Dawn also didn't know what was going on. She just felt that she could change whenever she wanted, and there was no discomfort. And if she was feeling low, a couple of shots of stimulant could make her even stronger, without any side effects. Hearing this answer, Violet was momentarily left speechless. Then she pushed Dawn away and prepared to find Zombie. Seeing the situation, Dawn asked her worriedly, what's wrong? All she left behind was a brief mind your own business before she quickly ran outside. At this moment, the assistant waiting outside stopped her and asked, where are you going? I'm going to City H, she answered, then promptly boarded her private jet in a rush. Soon, the plane took off toward City H and arrived at the destination in less than half an hour. As soon as the plane landed, Violet left the assistant behind and immediately ran towards Zombie's City Hall. Meanwhile, inside the City Hall of Zombie, he was holding a meeting, assigning roles to his fellows. One was appointed as the district head of Manhwa, another as the police chief, and others as heads of civil affairs and industry and commerce. As for Blackie, upon hearing his name, he stood up straight. Zombie handed the document in his hand to Blackie, saying, you'll be the head of the finance department. From now on, you'll be in charge of our money. Just then, Violet burst into the room. She was sweating profusely and panting heavily. Seeing her, Zombie immediately smiled and said, so it's Violet. Do you have any instructions? I was just about to go find you to report on the situation. But Violet didn't answer him. Instead, she quickly ran towards him, grabbed his head, and shouted, open your mouth. Then she pressed his front teeth onto her arm. After that, she walked straight outside, leaving everyone in the room dumbfounded. When Violet left the building, the assistant ran over with the briefcase. But when he saw the bite marks on Violet's arm, he was instantly worried, fearing that Zombie had controlled her thoughts and made her do something indescribable. Upon hearing this, Violet definitively stated, with this power of immortality, I'll do whatever he wants, even if it means I have to strip dance in the square. Upon hearing their conversation, Zombie felt completely baffled. After assigning roles to his fellows, Zombie's city began to gradually get back on track. Not only did they open a zombie clothing store and a zombie barber shop, but they even started offering zombie domestic services and zombie real estate. Incredibly, there were even zombie driving license tests, and the whole city became a paradise for zombies. Zombie also started to enjoy a brief, comfortable life. At this moment, in an office, a blonde girl was looking at Zombie's information and said, I really don't know what the Beyonders Academy was thinking, letting such a weak and characterless person be the president. At this time, a subordinate interjected, Inspector Chen, I heard from the Grand President of the Stainless Steel Academy that this zombie is indeed a real zombie, but I'm not sure if it's true. Upon hearing this, Inspector Chen said, the academies often slander each other, it's nothing new. But I don't like this zombie. As a president, he has no personality. Then, Inspector Chen grabbed Zombie's information. As for whether the Stainless Steel Academy president's claim that he's a zombie is true, we can go to City H and test him to find out. Meanwhile, the Beyonders Academy made a significant discovery in the Arctic. The president of the Archaeological Society, Dr. Strange, flew straight to the site via helicopter. Upon landing on a massive icebreaker ship, he hurriedly headed to the site. He learned from the person in charge that they unexpectedly found a mummified body of an ancient human frozen for 1,000 years, 500 meters deep in the ice while conducting a scientific survey. Hearing that it was an ancient human, Dr. Strange immediately got excited. If this was true, it would be one of the greatest discoveries in human civilization. Upon arriving at the site, he saw a crane slowly lifting a block of ice under the direction of the workers. Dr. Strange lit a cigarette, murmuring, "I hope this will help our research on ancient history." The experienced president of the Archaeological Society felt nervous for the first time in his life. As the crane slowly lifted, the ice block was hoisted out completely. Inside was a withered mummy. As the camera panned out, it turned out to be a female mummy, with nothing covering her body. Seeing this, Dr. Strange was speechless. How could the mummy be like this? Just then, two men slowly approached from behind. Suddenly, one of them covered the person in charge's mouth and bit his carotid artery. Seeing this, Dr. Strange asked in horror, "Who are you? What do you want to do?" All he got in response were the screams of the people on the ship. Moments later, Dr. Strange was kicked to the ground. One of them coldly said, "Use him for the sacrifice." Hearing this, two men pressed him to the ground, and his terrified screams echoed. A girl mocked, "It's just drawing some blood, no need to squeal like a pig." Another man, who clearly wasn't human, was staring seriously at the ice block. After placing the ice block on the ground, he directly injected Dr. Strange's blood into the female corpse. The corpse magically melted the ice and restored its full form in the blink of an eye. The girl kindly draped a cloak over her. Everyone then knelt in front of her, shouting, "Long live the Ghost Queen! May the Ghost Queen stay forever young." And this so-called Ghost Queen was a mature beauty with an unparalleled face. The woman asked grimly, "I only have one question, is that dumbass named Zombie from 1,000 years ago still alive?" Upon hearing the name Zombie, the subordinates immediately felt a touch of unease. When the subordinate came to his senses, he was drenched in sweat. He hastily replied, "Queen, since Zombie's last great battle with the humans, he has now mingled with the humans and even established his own group." Upon hearing this, the Ghost Queen shuddered unconsciously. Seeing this, the subordinate quickly steadied her, only to see her eyes become sharp in an instant. "Zombie, I will not lose to you this time." Meanwhile, Zombie, completely unaware of the events in the Arctic, was enjoying life with great satisfaction. A few days later, in the capital of the headquarter academy in Guangzhou province, all the heads of the academies had gathered. In front of them, in a lab, a man was roaring wildly. Violet and the others looked at the man whose face was filled with shock. "What is this thing? We've never seen it before. It doesn't look like a zombie either." The man now going wild was the leader of the archaeological team who had been bitten before. Being an ordinary human, he had suddenly become very powerful, injuring two academy presidents during his capture. Violet instantly thought of Zombie, who could also make ordinary people stronger. "It seems we have to call in the professionals." Soon, a car stopped in front of the main entrance. As the car door opened, Zombie's shining head stood out. As Zombie got out of the car, all the soldiers shouted in unison, "Greetings, President Zombie." This made Zombie feel a bit embarrassed. Soon, under the guidance of a soldier, Zombie entered the building. The presidents of the various academies looked at him with disdain. At this moment, a man proactively greeted Zombie, "Hello, I am President Ng from the Iron Club Academy. I heard that you caught Professor Jamie." Seeing this, Zombie also warmly greeted President Ng. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Zombie headed towards the laboratory. Zombie was thrilled to shake hands with a human for the first time, but at this moment, President Ng showed a look of contempt on his face. "What a piece of garbage, he's just another sidekick." Someone sneered, "Look at him, like a chicken, how could the Beyonders Academy choose him as president?" Upon hearing this, the Grand President of the Stainless Steel Academy snuck away quietly. "A bunch of lifeless things, why did they invite him over?" He then hid in a corner shivering. "If I had known, would have stayed at home." Before long, Zombie reached the laboratory. The lab technicians asked him to identify the species. Upon hearing this, Zombie was dumbfounded. I don't even know how old I am, you want me to look at this? But when he saw the bite marks on the man's neck, it seemed like he had an idea. Seeing Zombie's expression, Violet and the others felt uneasy. But just then, the man suddenly turned his head to bite Zombie. However, the next second, he shivered all over. At this moment, Zombie turned dark instantly, revealing a mouthful of big white teeth. Interesting, it's a blood race. The next second, he burst out with a strong aura, and the lab exploded instantly. The presidents of the academies were blown away. The man turned into a blood race was scared to the point of trembling, with tears streaming down his face. Zombie looked at him and said coldly, I remember you guys were supposed to be extinct. Meanwhile, outside the lab, the presidenting who had previously mocked Zombie bumped hard into a pillar. Only the president of the Stainless Steel Academy, who hid in the corner, shaking with fear, murmured, I told you guys, you're courting death. The presidenting, looking at the laboratory with shocked faces, then asked Violet and the others, what just happened with President Zombie? He exploded out of nowhere. What the hell is going on? Violet and Dawn, who knew the truth, could only pretend they hadn't heard. At that moment, Zombie was staring at a trembling vampire man on the bed. Interesting, I thought I wiped you all out. But this is even better. He grabbed the man's neck, his face full of excitement. Tell me, where is Little Red, who loves to drug me? The man, terrified and in tears, pleaded, I really don't know anything. I just turned into a vampire a few days ago after being bitten. Not getting the information he wanted, Zombie transformed back into his original form. Seeing Zombie come out of the lab, Violet and others immediately went up to ask him if he found anything. Zombie cautioned them, be careful these next few days, it's best if you don't go out. Hearing him say this, Violet and her team immediately became nervous. What do you mean by blood tribe? Hearing the word blood tribe, Zombie's face immediately became serious, standing still. Seeing his expression, Violet and others felt something was wrong. But the next moment, Zombie scratched his head, embarrassed. Sorry, I can't remember. Upon hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded, followed by Violet's angry roar in the room. Can your brain work properly when you transform? Zombie gave an embarrassed apology to Violet, promising to remember next time. Meanwhile, the President-ing and his team whispered, he is really a sidekick. But their words were heard by Zombie. When he turned his head to look at them, they were immediately scared into a cold sweat, not daring to meet Zombie's gaze. At the same time, next to a grand building and in a small alley filled with spider webs, the Ghost Queen, Little Red, was squatting in the corner, looking gloomy as she avoided the rain. Just then, a coin rolled towards them. It turned out that a passerby took them for beggars. Seeing the $1 coin, Lon Ling's eyes sparkled as he picked it up. Little Red felt humiliated and knocked her subordinate away. You guys are in such a miserable state, why did you wake me up? Hearing this, the girl next to him looked wronged. Your Majesty, do you know what we've been through these past 1,000 years? When you fought Zombie, you were turned into a mummy and sealed in the North Pole. Afterward, he wiped out our clan. Lon Ling and I pretended to be dead on the ground to avoid his death hand. To avoid Zombie, we didn't dare to show our faces for 1,000 years, whether we saw zombies or humans, we had to take a detour. We've been hiding in this alley for who knows how many years. Look at Lon Ling, he's almost becoming a fool. After hearing her words, Little Red was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. She didn't expect her subordinates to be so miserable. But then, she helplessly said, even if you wake me up, it won't change anything. I can't beat Zombie now, I'm not even qualified to haircut him. At this time, Lon Ling said, Your Majesty, you're wrong. The reason we woke you up is because we recently got some information. We found someone who can make you invincible. After saying that, he began to fumble for something in his arms. The girl next to him also said, that person can indeed make you stronger. On hearing this, Little Red immediately became interested. Who is this person? And the person whom Lon Ling and the girl were talking about was none other than Professor Jamie, the creator of the new Zombie King, who had just been thrown into the dungeon by Zombie. However, as soon as they saw where Professor Jamie was being detained, they were instantly shocked by the sight. Right after Zombie walked out of the lab, completely forgetting what just happened, he was led by Violet and President Ing to the control room where they were holding Professor Jamie. At that moment, Zombie couldn't help but voice his doubt, why not just get rid of him? Violet explained, he's planted many spies around us that we need to root out. Also, we need to find and destroy all his anti-human research materials. Zombie raised another question, what if he escapes? Wouldn't all our efforts have been in vain? Hearing this, President Ing, as if he had heard a great joke, assured, he absolutely can't escape. Since you, President Zombie, caught him, I'll make an exception and take you to see the place. Soon, they took a helicopter to the private prison specifically built for Professor Jamie. This prison was dug into a mountain, going 3,000 meters deep. Even taking an elevator to the bottom took 30 minutes. With 1,500 levels and at least 100,000 troops, each level was equipped with heavy weapons like anti-aircraft guns and laser cannons, and every 100 levels, a president took turns guarding. With a proud face, President Ing said, what can he use to escape with this level of defense? And what's behind them is not some decoration, it's a giant bomb with 10,000 tons of TNT. If anyone tries to break out, it will explode instantly. Then, showing his big white teeth, he viciously added, if he dares to escape, we'll all die together. Even if God comes, he can only take away a corpse. Seeing such a crazy move by humans, Zombie was sweating with fear and quickly excused himself to escape from the underground fortress. Meanwhile, in the alley where Litter Red and others were, the vampire hacker successfully hacked into the prison's cameras. But when they learned about the massive deployment of troops and the dangerous bomb, all three were dumbfounded. Subsequently, Litter Red started cursing, these damn humans, they're utterly disgusting. The scene shifts back to the prison. President Ing lights a cigarette, reminding Violet, forgot to tell you, Inspector Chen has gone to inspect Zombie's city. You'd better let your boyfriend know. Hearing this, Violet retorted irritably, get lost, you're his boyfriend, why are you telling me this? President Ing turned around and murmured, it was the Grand President of the Stainless Steel Academy who informed Inspector Chen that this person, Zombie, is actually a true zombie and has built a city of the dead. As for me, whether his name is Zombie or whether he is a zombie, it doesn't matter. What I recognize is strength alone. At that time, in the human city, with everyone's eyes on him and unaware of the approaching danger, Zombie was walking down the street with a smile, the human city is so prosperous, I want to make my city just as lively.